Most people don't really think, they just react. Something happens, and the mind rushes to label, to judge, to defend. But a calm mind doesn't rush. It observes. It pauses. It sees the truth hidden beneath the noise. That's the difference between surviving life and mastering it. Your brain is not just a tool for storing information. It's a living engine of perception, constantly shaping the way you see, decide, and act. Every moment, it's training itself either to panic or to think, either to follow impulse or to lead with awareness. And here's the secret: you can train it. You can rewire your thinking to stay sharp, calm, and intelligent, no matter what the situation throws at you. Because smart isn't about knowing more. It's about seeing more. In this audiobook, you'll learn how to train your brain to stay strategic under pressure, how to spot emotional traps before they control you, and how to make clear, confident decisions even in the middle of chaos. This is not just about thinking positive. It's about thinking clearly. It's about mastering the inner game before you play the outer one. So take a deep breath, slow your mind, and get ready to rebuild your most powerful tool, your way of thinking. Because once your mind learns to stay calm and see clearly, you stop reacting to life and start outsmarting it. Your brain is a powerful machine, but most of the time, it's running on autopilot. Every sound, every notification, every opinion pulls your attention like a magnet. And without noticing, you start reacting, not thinking. You reply before you reflect. You assume before you analyze. You defend before you understand. It happens fast because your brain was designed to protect you, not to make you wise. That ancient part of your mind, the one that helped your ancestors survive danger, still controls most of your daily decisions. It reacts to discomfort as if it were danger, and it fights every challenge as if it were war. But life isn't a battlefield anymore. It's a chessboard, and the calm player always wins. If you want to outsmart any situation, you must learn to pause between stimulus and response. That pause, that small, silent gap, is where intelligence lives. It's the difference between saying something you regret and saying something that changes everything. It's the moment where the mind switches from reacting to reasoning. Thinking is not what happens to you. It's what you choose to do. And the first step is awareness. Start noticing how often your reactions control you. The next time you feel the urge to snap, argue, or prove your point, stop. For just 2 seconds, feel your breath. Watch the emotion rise. And ask yourself, what's really happening right now? That single question rewires the brain. It moves you from emotion to observation, from impulse to intelligence. You see, the brain is a pattern-seeking machine. It loves shortcuts, habits, beliefs, assumptions. That's how it saves energy. But the same shortcuts that once protected you now limit you. Critical thinking begins when you start questioning those shortcuts. When you stop asking, "What do I feel?" and start asking, "What do I know?" Here's a simple truth. Every time you pause to think, you're training your brain to stay awake. You're building new neural pathways stronger, sharper, calmer. And over time, your responses change. You stop reacting to people. You start responding to reality. There's an old saying, the wise see twice. The first time, with their eyes. The second time, with their mind. That's what training your brain means, learning to see beyond the surface. To think before emotion paints the picture. Let's take an example. Someone criticizes your idea. The instant reaction is defense. You want to protect your ego. But if you pause, you realize something deeper. Criticism isn't always an attack. Sometimes it's data. Sometimes it's a mirror. When you see it that way, you grow instead of argue. That's mental strength, the ability to hold space between emotion and logic. And this strength can be trained. Every pause builds it. Every reflection sharpens it. So here's a small daily practice. At the end of each day, recall one situation where you reacted quickly. Ask yourself, what would have changed if I took 10 seconds to think first? You'll start to notice a pattern. Most regrets come from fast reactions, not slow reflections. Thinking doesn't mean overthinking. It means directing your mind, not drowning in it. When your thinking is trained, your emotions stop controlling the wheel. You begin to notice things others miss: tone, timing, motive, energy. And that awareness gives you an advantage in every conversation, every decision, every challenge. Calm thinking is not passive. It's strategic, because in every situation, there are two games being played. The outer one, what's happening, and the inner one, how you interpret it. Train your mind to win the inner game, and the outer one becomes much easier. It takes discipline. It takes patience. But the reward is freedom. Freedom from emotional chaos, from mental clutter, from automatic reactions. A sharp mind is not born. It's built. You build it every time you pause before you speak, breathe before you decide, and question before you believe. Those 3 habits will change your life. Pause, breathe, question. That's how you retrain the brain. Because clarity is a muscle, and the more you use it, the stronger it becomes. You'll begin to notice things slowing down, arguments losing their power, distractions fading, your focus deepening. People will say, "You're so calm lately." But what they're really sensing is not calmness, it's clarity. You're no longer pulled by every emotion. You're guided by understanding. That's what it means to train your mind to think. It's not about being emotionless. It's about being aware of emotion and choosing how to respond. So the next time you face pressure, a problem, a conflict, a test, remember this. Your first thought is usually emotional. Your second is often intelligent. Give your second thought the chance to speak. That's where wisdom lives. The smartest minds in history were not the ones who had all the answers. They were the ones who asked better questions. Socrates, Einstein, Da Vinci, Elon Musk. Their genius didn't come from what they knew, but from how they questioned what they thought they knew. Because every great question is a mirror that shows you what your mind has been ignoring. Most people don't question, they assume. They react to the surface of things, not the structure beneath them. But when you start asking better questions, you stop being a prisoner of assumptions. You begin to see through them. And that is how wisdom begins. Step 1. Notice the questions you're already asking. Your mind is always asking questions whether you realize it or not. When you fail, it asks, "Why am I not good enough?" When someone disagrees, it asks, "Why don't they understand me?" When you're unsure, it whispers, "What if I mess up again?" These are emotional questions, and emotional questions produce emotional answers. They keep you stuck in the same story. They make you seek validation, not truth. So the first step is awareness. Start listening to the questions inside your head. Are they helping you grow, or are they keeping you small? Because every question you ask shapes the quality of your thinking. The brain always finds an answer. The only question is, did you ask it the right way? Step 2. Reframe the question. Here's the secret. You can't always control your thoughts, but you can control your questions. And the moment you change your questions, you change the direction of your mind. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "What is this teaching me?" Instead of, "Why do I always fail?" ask, "What pattern am I repeating that I can now change?" Instead of, "What if it goes wrong?" ask, "What if it goes right?" Each reframe rewires your brain. It turns fear into curiosity. It turns resistance into insight. And curiosity is the mother of intelligence. Because curiosity doesn't judge, it explores. It looks at life with open eyes instead of closed beliefs. And that's what keeps the mind young, alive, and sharp. Step 3. Ask layered questions. Most people stop at the first question. Smart thinkers go deeper. They peel the layers. What else could this mean? What am I missing? What's influencing this that I haven't noticed yet? When you ask layered questions, you train your brain to think in dimensions. You stop seeing flat problems. You start seeing systems. A beginner asks, "What happened?" A thinker asks, "Why did it happen?" A strategist asks, "How does it connect to everything else?" That's how powerful thinking works. You move from event to pattern, from reaction to understanding. So the next time you face a problem, don't rush to fix it. Sit with it and start peeling. What is the root cause here? What assumptions am I making? What evidence actually supports this? What am I afraid to admit? Ask until the surface breaks. Because truth doesn't hide deep, it hides beneath your first answer. Step 4. Ask questions that stretch possibility. Great questions don't just explain the past, they create the future. When your thinking feels stuck, ask questions that stretch it. What else could I try? What would this look like if it were easy? If I wasn't afraid, what would I do differently? These questions unlock creativity and courage. They silence the inner critic and awaken the inner explorer. Because the mind expands in proportion to the questions it entertains. Step 5. Ask questions that build connection. The smartest communicators aren't the ones who talk the most. They're the ones who ask and then listen. Real connection begins when curiosity replaces judgment. Next time you speak with someone, don't assume you understand their story. Ask, what makes you feel that way? What experience shaped that view? What matters most to you right now? When you ask questions with presence, you give people the rare gift of being heard. And that's how minds open gently, naturally, without argument. Reflection at its core. Critical thinking isn't about being skeptical of everything. It's about being curious about everything. You question not to destroy, but to understand. You question not to prove, but to see. And when you live this way, your mind becomes a mirror, reflecting truth without distortion. So tonight, before you sleep, ask yourself one question. What did I learn about my own thinking today? Let that question echo softly. Because the more you question your thoughts, the more freedom you find from them. You'll learn how to spot the emotional traps that hijack reason and how to stay calm and intelligent even when your feelings are loud. Your brain is logical, but your emotions are fast. They run ahead of reason, and most of the time, they're the ones steering the wheel. You think you're making choices with logic, but in truth, logic often comes second as a lawyer, defending whatever emotion decided first. That's why even smart people say or do things they later regret. It's not a lack of intelligence. It's a lack of awareness. Emotional intelligence doesn't mean you feel less. It means you understand what you feel, and you know how to use it instead of being used by it. Step 1, feel it. Don't fight it. When a strong emotion rises, anger, fear, jealousy, shame, your first instinct is to resist it, to push it down, to pretend it's not there. But what you resist persists. The mind is like water. When you fight the wave, you drown. When you let it pass, you float. So the first rule to outsmart emotions is simple. Don't fight them. Feel them. Close your eyes. Take a breath. Name what you feel. I'm angry. I'm anxious. I feel ignored. Just naming it turns the chaos into clarity. Because the moment you name a feeling, you step outside of it. You move from being in the storm to watching it. And the watcher is always stronger than the storm. Step 2, separate the signal from the story. Every emotion has 2 layers, the signal and the story. The signal is what's true. The story is what your mind adds to make sense of it. For example, the signal says, I feel left out. The story says, no one cares about me. The signal says, I'm nervous. The story says, I'm not good enough. The signal is neutral. It's data. It's useful. But the story, that's the trap. The story triggers your defense. It feeds fear, guilt, or resentment. So when emotion hits, pause and ask, what's the signal here? What is this feeling trying to tell me? Maybe it's telling you that you need rest, or that you need honesty, or that something no longer aligns with you. Listen to the signal. Question the story. That's emotional mastery. Step 3, delay the reaction, not the response. When emotions take over, time is your best weapon. Between what happens and how you respond, there's a space, a short, silent window. Most people waste that window. They let emotion rush through it. But if you can hold it just a few seconds longer, you shift from reaction to choice. Breathe in. Count to 3. Ask yourself, what's my goal here? What outcome do I actually want? That simple pause rewires your emotional circuitry. Because emotion is a wave and waves always pass. The reaction you want to make now is rarely the one you'll be proud of later. Step 4. Map your emotional patterns. Your emotions have patterns. They repeat like loops in a song, the same triggers, the same reactions, just different situations. The next time you get angry, anxious, or drained, pause and trace it back. What triggered this? What's familiar about it? When did I first start reacting this way? Maybe your anger always hides disappointment. Maybe your anxiety always follows perfectionism. Once you see the pattern, it loses power, because awareness breaks repetition. You stop being the actor in your emotion and become the director of it. Step 5. Use emotion as information. Your emotions aren't the enemy, they're messages. Anger shows what you value. Fear shows what you need to protect. Sadness shows what you've lost or need to let go. Joy shows what aligns with your truth. When you start treating emotion as information, you stop fearing it. You start decoding it. Ask yourself, what is this emotion trying to teach me? You'll find that even pain carries wisdom. It points to where you need healing, not punishment. You can't think clearly if you don't feel clearly first. So don't silence emotions, interpret them. Step 6. Practice the calm reset. Whenever emotion hijacks you, practice what I call the calm reset. Breathe in for 4 seconds. Hold for 7. Exhale for 8. Then say quietly, this is just a feeling. It will pass. It sounds simple, but that phrase tells your nervous system you're safe. Because the body follows the brain, and when your brain believes you're calm, your body follows suit. Use this reset anytime before a meeting, after a conflict, or when you catch your mind spiraling. Over time, your emotions stop controlling your pace. You control theirs. Step 7. Rehearse emotional scenarios. You can train your emotional brain the same way you train a muscle. Each night, visualize a situation that usually triggers you. See yourself handling it calmly, breathing, thinking, responding wisely. The brain can't tell the difference between imagined experience and real practice, so every rehearsal strengthens the pathways of calm and control. That's how you build emotional fitness, by practicing peace before chaos arrives. Reflection. Emotional intelligence isn't about silence. It's about stability. It's knowing that emotion is a guest, not the owner of the house. You welcome it. You listen. And when it's done speaking, you let it leave. Your power lies not in feeling nothing, but in feeling everything without losing yourself. That's how you outsmart emotion, not by running from it, but by understanding it faster than it understands you. Most people don't see the world as it is. They see it as they are. Your mind doesn't show you reality. It shows you your interpretation of reality. Everything you believe, every emotion, every experience acts like a lens. And those lenses, we call them mental models. They're the invisible maps you use to navigate life. The problem is, most people don't realize their maps are outdated. Step 1. Understand what a mental model is. A mental model is simply the way you explain how something works. It's your brain's shortcut for making sense of complexity. You have a model for success, a model for love, a model for failure, a model for people, and every decision you make comes from one of those models. The catch: if the model is wrong, the decision will be wrong too. That's why two people can face the same situation and see completely different things. One sees a problem, the other sees a pattern. One feels stuck, the other sees an opportunity. It's not luck, it's perspective. It's the model running in the background. Step 2. Upgrade your mental maps. You can't navigate a new world with an old map. And in today's world, fast, digital, uncertain old maps fail faster than ever. So how do you update them? You learn new models. Let's explore a few that will change how you think forever. 1. The map is not the territory. This simple but powerful truth comes from philosopher Alfred Korzybski. It means your perception of the world is not the world itself. Your map, your beliefs, opinions, labels is only a version of reality, filtered through your experiences and biases. When you forget that, you start defending your map instead of exploring the territory. The key: stay curious. When something doesn't match your map, don't argue, observe. Maybe life is showing you a new landscape. 2. The inversion principle. Instead of asking, "How can I succeed?" ask, "How can I avoid failure?" Instead of asking, "What makes people happy?" ask, "What usually makes people miserable?" This mental flip, known as inversion, helps you see hidden risks and blind spots. Great thinkers, from Charlie Munger to ancient Stoics, used inversion to outsmart problems before they appeared. Because sometimes, knowing what not to do is more powerful than knowing what to do. 3. The circle of competence. You don't need to know everything. You just need to know what you know and what you don't. That's your circle of competence. Inside that circle, decisions are easy. Outside of it, they're dangerous. The problem is, Ego often makes the circle look bigger than it is. We assume expertise where there's only exposure. True intelligence means staying humble enough to say, "I don't know." That honesty keeps your thinking clean. It saves time, energy, and mistakes. 4. The second-order thinking. Most people stop at the first consequence. Smart thinkers look for the second and third. For example, you skip sleep to finish a project. First-order effect, you get more done. Second-order effect, you're exhausted tomorrow and make bad decisions. Or you cut prices to win customers. First-order effect, more sales. Second-order effect, less profit. Weaker brand. Every decision creates ripples. If you only see the first, you'll always be surprised by the next. Before making a choice, ask, and then keep asking until you see the full picture. That one question will save you years of regret. 5. The Pareto principle. 80% of results come from 20% of effort. The key is to find your 20. Most people scatter their energy doing everything halfway and nothing deeply. But high performers focus on the vital few. They identify the small set of actions that create the biggest change. Ask yourself daily, what's the 20% that matters most right now? That one question simplifies your life and amplifies your impact. Step 3. How mental models shape reality. Your models don't just describe the world, they create it. If your model says, "People can't change," you'll stop trying. If your model says, "Failure means I'm not good enough," you'll fear trying at all. But if your model says, "Failure is data," you'll grow faster than most. What you believe shapes what you perceive, and what you perceive shapes what you achieve. So, choose your models carefully. They're not just ideas, they're architecture for your future. Step 4. Practice mental model awareness. Here's a daily habit. Each time you make a decision, pause and ask, what model am I using right now? You might catch yourself using an emotional model, do what feels safe. Or a cultural model, do what everyone expects. Or a fear model, don't risk being wrong. Awareness is the upgrade. Once you see the model, you can choose a better one. Over time, you'll build a mental toolbox, a collection of flexible ways to think. The more models you learn, the fewer blind spots you have. As Charlie Munger said, the person who has only one model is doomed to interpret everything through it. Reflection. Your thoughts build your world. But your mental models decide which world you get to live in. So challenge them, update them, evolve them. When your models grow, your mind grows. And when your mind grows, nothing can hold you back. Because reality doesn't belong to the smartest person, it belongs to the one who sees it most clearly. Every great mind from Aristotle to Musk shares one quiet skill: they don't think by imitation. They think by construction. While most people ask, "How has this been done?" before the innovator asks, "What is this made of, and why does it work that way?" That simple shift is what separates repetition from revolution. Step 1. What does first principles thinking mean? To think in first principles means to strip an idea down to its raw truth, the foundation beneath all assumptions. The simple facts that cannot be broken further. It's how scientists discover. It's how inventors create. It's how clear thinkers make sense of complexity. You stop building your thoughts on borrowed opinions or popular beliefs. You rebuild from zero, from reality itself. When you think by analogy, you say, "I'll do it like they did." When you think by first principles, you say, "Let's forget how they did it. What are the facts? And what do they mean?" and suddenly, the impossible becomes possible again. Step 2. Why most people don't think this way. Our brains love shortcuts. They prefer comfort over clarity. So instead of reasoning from truth, we reason from memory. We repeat patterns we've seen before. We copy formulas, habits, methods, even when they don't serve us anymore. That's why innovation feels rare, not because it's hard, but because it's uncomfortable. It forces you to say, I might be wrong. And that is the sentence most minds avoid. But if you want freedom in thinking, in business, in life, you must learn to challenge the familiar, because nothing new is built on what everyone already agrees with. Step 3. How Elon Musk used it. When Elon Musk wanted to build rockets, everyone said, "You can't. It costs too much." Traditional aerospace companies spent millions per launch. Most people stopped there. He didn't. He broke the problem into parts. What is a rocket actually made of? Metal alloys, fuel, electronics, engines. What do those materials cost? A fraction of what companies were charging. So, what makes it so expensive? The process, not the physics. That one insight, born from asking first principles questions, led to reusable rockets and SpaceX's disruption of an entire industry. He didn't follow the rules. He questioned their reason for existing. That's the essence of first principles. You stop believing in limits and start testing them. Step 4. The 3 steps to practicing it. Step 1. Define the problem clearly. Most people can't solve their problems because they can't describe them. Write yours down in 1 sentence. Simple, sharp, honest. What exactly am I trying to achieve? Step 2. Break it down to facts. Ask, what do I know for sure? What are the variables? What's belief? And what's data? Step 3. Rebuild from truth. Once you've stripped away assumption, start constructing new ideas based only on what's undeniably real. Truth is quiet, but it's always there, waiting beneath the noise. Step 5. The power of destruction. To build something new, you must first destroy what's false. The mind resists this because destruction feels unsafe. But the truth is, you can't hold on to every belief and still grow. I can't change. It's too late for me. It's always been this way. Each of those sentences is a cage disguised as logic. When you think from first principles, you stop decorating the cage and start melting the bars. You realize that what you called impossible was just unquestioned. Step 6. Apply it to everyday life. Let's bring it down to earth. Imagine you want to get healthier. Most people start with analogies. What diet works best? What workout did that influencer use? But a first principles thinker asks, what does my body actually need? What fuels me best? What habit makes me feel strong and sustainable? It's the same with productivity. Instead of asking, what system should I follow? Ask, when do I actually focus best? What distractions waste the most energy? You move from copying systems to designing your own, from chasing tips to understanding truth. And that's when life starts working for you, not against you. Step 7. Emotional freedom through logic. Thinking from first principles isn't just a logical act, it's an emotional discipline. When something fails, most people blame themselves. They say, I'm not good enough. But a first principles thinker says, something in the process didn't work. What part can I rebuild? This approach removes guilt and replaces it with curiosity. You stop identifying with failure and start learning from it faster. That's the emotional power of clarity. It keeps you strong when things go wrong, because reality doesn't punish honesty, it rewards it. Step 8. The breakdown habit once a week. Take one problem that's been looping in your mind. Maybe a habit you can't change. A relationship that confuses you. A dream that feels far away. Write it down. Then break it into pieces. What are the facts? What are the feelings? What are the fears hiding as logic? Keep questioning until you hit bedrock, the simplest truth you can't break further. That's your foundation. Build from there. Do this often enough, and your thinking becomes lighter, cleaner, calmer. You stop carrying the mental clutter of should and start acting from is. Step 9. First principles in leadership and creativity. Great leaders don't give orders. They clarify truths. They ask their teams what's actually blocking progress. What assumption are we still serving that no longer matters? The best artists, engineers, writers, they all share the same skill. They see patterns beneath patterns. They look for simplicity where others see chaos. Every innovation, from the light bulb to the iPhone, was born from someone who looked at what everyone accepted and quietly asked, but does it have to be that way? That question alone is the root of every breakthrough. Step 10. The wisdom of simplicity. When you reach the essence of truth, it feels simple, almost obvious. But simplicity is not stupidity. It's the highest form of understanding. A cluttered mind seeks complexity. A trained mind seeks clarity, and clarity doesn't shout. It whispers. The more you practice seeing through illusion, the easier life becomes, because every problem, no matter how complicated, has a simple root waiting to be seen by calm eyes. That's what it means to think like an innovator, to return to truth. Again and again, until wisdom feels natural. Reflection innovation doesn't start with brilliance. It starts with honesty. When you stop repeating what others believe and begin questioning what's real, you start to think from the ground up, not from imitation, but from insight. And in that clarity, you find freedom. Freedom to build, to change, to see, because the mind that dares to ask why is the mind that quietly shapes the future. There are two kinds of pressure in life, the one that crushes you and the one that sharpens you. The difference lies in how you think under pressure. Most people stop thinking clearly. The heart races, the breath shortens, and the brain switches from strategy to survival. You say things you don't mean. You make choices you regret. You rush just to escape discomfort. But what if you could train your mind to stay still inside the storm, to think clearly? Even when everything around you feels like noise, that's what true mental strength looks like. Step 1. Understand how pressure works. Pressure doesn't come from events, it comes from perception. It's not what happens, but what you believe it means. When you say, "This is too much," or "I can't afford to fail," you're telling your brain that danger is near. Your nervous system listens. It floods your body with adrenaline. Your focus narrows. Your vision blurs. That's biology's way of saying run or fight. But most modern challenges deadlines, decisions, conversations require neither. They require composure. So your first task is to break the illusion that pressure is an enemy. Pressure is information. It's your system signaling importance. You don't need to fight it. You just need to interpret it correctly. Step 2. The calm mind protocol. When the heat rises, follow this simple 3-step process. 1. Breathe before you think. It sounds simple, but breathing is your reset switch. A slow inhale resets logic. A long exhale releases tension. 2. Name the pressure. Say it silently, I'm under stress. This decision matters. Naming it separates you from it. 3. Ask what actually needs to happen right now, not what feels urgent. What's truly required in this moment? This question clears the mental fog. It brings you back to logic. Calm isn't weakness. It's control. It's the signal that your higher mind has just taken the wheel back. Step 3. Separate noise from necessity. In moments of tension, everything feels important. But that's a lie your emotions tell you. Most crises are not total, they're partial. One part matters. The rest is noise. Train yourself to ask, what truly moves the outcome here? Maybe it's one conversation, one decision, one clear message. Focus only on that. The rest can wait. This is called priority compression, the art of shrinking chaos until you can act calmly within it. The clearer your focus, the smaller the storm feels. Step 4. The 2-second rule. When you're about to decide, pause for 2 seconds. 2 seconds is short enough to keep momentum, but long enough to interrupt emotion. In that pause, ask, what is my goal? What data am I missing? What would future me thank me for doing right now? That small delay creates massive clarity. It prevents emotional shortcuts and activates rational thinking. You stop reacting. You start responding. That's how calm minds win in chaos. Step 5. Decision by design. Great decision makers don't rely on mood, they rely on method. Here's a simple model you can use anytime. 1. Define the objective. What exactly are you trying to achieve? If you can't define success, you'll never recognize it when it happens. 2. List the options. Get them out of your head. Writing turns emotion into evidence. 3. Identify constraints. What's real, what's flexible, what's just fear disguised as logic. 4. Evaluate outcomes. Not just short-term wins, but long-term consequences. Ask. And then what? 5. Decide. Once you've analyzed enough, move forward. Overthinking is just doubt in disguise. Decisiveness is not rushing, it's trusting your reasoning. Step 6. The role of emotion in decision. People say, don't let emotions interfere. But that's not quite right. Emotion is data. It tells you what you value, what matters most, what feels aligned or wrong. The key is not to erase emotion, but to integrate it. Ask yourself, is this emotion trying to protect me or prevent me from growing? Fear can be both warning and weight. Wisdom is knowing which. When your mind listens to emotion without obeying it blindly, you become both human and strategic. Step 7. Decisions under uncertainty. Most pressure comes not from difficulty, but from doubt. We fear making the wrong choice. We crave perfect information. But clarity often comes after you act, not before. So how do you decide when you don't know everything? You choose based on direction, not perfection. Ask, which path teaches me more? Which option expands my life? Not just my comfort. Growth hides behind uncertainty. When you choose learning over fear, pressure loses its grip. Step 8. The weighted decision practice. Not all choices are equal. Some deserve deep analysis. Others just need a quick instinct call. Here's a mental trick. Assign each decision a weight from 1 to 10. 1, 3. Small impact, decide fast. 4, 7. Moderate impact, think. Then act. 8, 10. High impact, slow down. Gather input. Then commit fully. This prevents burnout You stop overthinking the small things and underthinking the big ones. Smart energy equals smart results. Step 9. How calm becomes strategy. When you stay calm under pressure, you send a message to your brain, to your team, to the world. You say, I am not ruled by chaos. I am guided by clarity. That energy is magnetic. People trust calm. They follow it. They depend on it. The calm thinker sees 10 moves ahead, while everyone else reacts to the first. That's why, in the long run, the quiet mind always wins. Reflection pressure will never disappear, but panic can. The goal isn't to avoid stress, it's to transform it into strength. Every tough moment is a mental gym. Every hard choice is a chance to build resilience. When life demands quick answers, breathe, pause, and remember, you are not the pressure. You are the presence within it. And presence is the sharpest form of intelligence. Most people see events. Smart thinkers see patterns. They look at the same world, but one reacts to moments, while the other predicts movements. Pattern recognition is the difference between guessing and understanding, between reacting and leading. It's the hidden skill behind every wise decision, every quiet success, every visionary idea. Step 1. What is pattern recognition? Pattern recognition is the ability to connect dots that others overlook. It's when you notice repetition in chaos habits, emotions, mistakes, opportunities, and realize that nothing happens randomly. The mind loves order. When you train it to see patterns instead of problems, you stop being surprised by life. You start anticipating it. Patterns are everywhere, in the way people speak, in how markets move, in your own recurring thoughts. The question is, are you paying attention? Step 2. Train your brain to see what repeats. Every pattern begins with awareness. You can't connect dots you never notice. So the first step is observation. Slow down your perception. Watch how things unfold instead of rushing to fix them. Ask yourself, what keeps showing up in my life? What emotions repeat? What situations seem familiar? The same lessons will appear again and again until you truly learn them. That's not coincidence. That's your life giving you feedback. Pattern recognition begins when you stop asking, why me? And start asking, what's the pattern here? Step 3. The 3 levels of patterns. Level 1. Surface patterns, behavior. These are visible cycles, habits, routines, external results. They're easy to see but often misread. You might say, I'm always late. But that's not the real pattern, that's the symptom. Level 2. Emotional patterns, reactions. These are the triggers that keep returning: anger, fear, guilt, avoidance. When pressure hits, your emotional brain plays the same song. Different melodi, samme rytme. Notice how your feelings repeat. That's where deep awareness begins. Level 3. Thought, patterns, beliefs. Every repeated emotion is powered by a repeated belief. I must prove myself. I'll never be enough. I always mess up. Once you catch the belief behind the pattern, you break its hold. You can't change what you can't name. Step 4. From patterns to predictions. Once you see patterns, you start to forecast. That's where foresight begins, not in magic, but in attention. If someone avoids accountability once, they'll likely do it again. If a market repeats certain trends, it's signaling future behavior. If you ignore the same emotion twice, it'll return stronger the third time. Life leaves breadcrumbs. Wisdom is collecting them. The future is not unpredictable. It's simply unread by those who aren't paying attention. Step 5. Apply pattern thinking to decision-making when you face a choice. Ask, what happened the last few times I faced something similar? What outcome followed that action? What do I expect to happen? And why? If your expectation is based on a pattern, you have data. If it's based on emotion, you have noise. Pattern-based decisions remove the drama. They turn guessing into guidance. That's how wise people move through life with a quiet sense of déjà vu. Not because they know the future, but because they've learned from the past. Step 6. Patterns in people. If you want to understand people, don't listen to their words. Watch their patterns. Anyone can say, "I've changed," but real change repeats differently. Notice consistency, not confession. Because pattern is truth, and words are only intention. If someone repeatedly chooses chaos, it's not bad luck. It's design. And the same goes for you. The results in your life aren't random. They're reflections of the patterns you've been practicing. Once you see that, you stop blaming others and start refining yourself. Step 7. The power of strategic foresight. Pattern recognition leads to foresight, the ability to see around corners. Strategic foresight isn't about predicting every event. It's about preparing for every possibility. It asks, what's likely to happen if this pattern continues? What happens if it changes? The future doesn't surprise those who watch patterns honestly. They can sense when energy shifts, when people lose focus, when trends are about to reverse. They don't react to change, they adapt before it arrives. That's how leaders stay ahead without running faster, they simply see sooner. Step 8. How to develop strategic vision. You can practice foresight every day. Here's how. 1. Reflect weekly. List what went well, what didn't, and what repeated. Patterns appear faster when written down. 2. Look wider, not just deeper. Connect ideas across different areas: science, psychology, business, art. Insight often comes from the overlap. 3. Question the obvious. If everyone is doing something, ask why and who benefits. Crowds follow momentum. Thinkers follow meaning. 4. Visualize multiple futures. Ask if this continues, what happens next? Then what if the opposite happens? Your brain starts building agility instead of attachment. Foresight isn't about certainty. It's about readiness. Step 9. The still mind sees the pattern. You can't recognize patterns if your mind is noisy. That's why calmness is not just emotional hygiene, it's cognitive strategy. When the surface of the mind is still, reflection becomes clear. You begin to notice details that rush used to hide. You start connecting events that once felt separate. Stillness sharpens perception. Perception builds foresight. And foresight builds wisdom. The smartest thinkers aren't faster, they're quieter. Reflection. Everything repeats until you learn from it. Every mistake leaves a lesson. Every emotion reveals a pattern. Every cycle whispers. Pay attention. Once you learn to see life as a series of signals, you stop fearing uncertainty. You start anticipating it. You start moving with intention. Pattern recognition turns confusion into clarity. And foresight turns that clarity into power. Because in a world full of noise, the one who sees the pattern always leads the game. We often think of intelligence as logic, fact, data, reason. But the truth is, Emotion drives more decisions than logic ever will. No matter how rational you believe you are, you don't think in pure logic, you think through feeling. Your emotions decide what you focus on, what you avoid, who you trust, and when you act. That's why emotional intelligence is not the opposite of rational thinking. It's the foundation that makes it possible. Step 1. Understanding emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence means being able to recognize, understand, and manage emotions, both yours and others. It's not about being nice. It's about being aware. It's the skill that turns reaction into reflection and impulse into influence. When you understand emotions, you gain access to the real currents that move people, teams, and decisions. Because in every conversation, underneath the words, emotions are negotiating first. Step 2. Awareness, the root of all intelligence. Before you can master emotion, you must first notice it. Most people don't. They feel something: irritation, insecurity, pride, and instantly act on it. Awareness creates distance. Distance creates choice. When you can say, "I'm feeling defensive right now," you've already shifted from emotion to observation, and the observer is always stronger than the emotion being observed. That moment of noticing is your superpower. It's the mental equivalent of pressing pause in the middle of chaos. Step 3. Reading emotions, yours and theirs. Emotional intelligence is not just internal. It's also the art of reading others without judgment. Every tone, gesture, silence, or reaction is information. People reveal themselves constantly, not through what they say, but how they say it. Watch for micro-patterns: tight shoulders, short breaths, forced laughter. Words that repeat when someone feels uncertain. When you notice emotion in others, you're not decoding weakness. You're decoding context. The emotionally intelligent person doesn't manipulate emotion, they navigate it with empathy. They don't absorb others' moods. They adjust their energy to bring balance to the room. That's why emotional intelligence is magnetic. It makes people feel seen, and people trust those who make them feel understood. Step 4. Regulating emotion, the art of response. Emotional control isn't about suppression. It's about precision. You don't silence your feelings. You shape them. You choose when, where, and how to express them. Imagine emotion as water. Too much pressure, it floods. Too little, it dries out. Balanced, it flows. Here's a simple practice. When emotion rises, pause and name it. I'm angry. Then ask, what triggered this? What's the real message here? By the time you finish asking, the intensity drops. You've moved from the emotional brain to the reasoning brain. That transition alone changes outcomes. Because emotion loses its control the moment you become conscious of it. Step 5. Using emotion as information. Your emotions are messengers, not enemies. Anger points to boundaries crossed. Fear points to preparation needed. Sadness points to something that mattered. Joy points to alignment with truth. Every emotion has intelligence hidden within it. When you stop judging emotions and start decoding them, you transform pain into perspective. Ask yourself, what is this feeling trying to teach me? What action does this emotion want me to take? Sometimes it's rest. Sometimes it's speak up. Sometimes it's simply let go. Emotional awareness doesn't make you cold. It makes you clear. Step 6. The emotion-logic partnership. The smartest decisions come from a partnership between emotion and reason. Emotion gives direction what matters. Logic gives structure how to get there. Too much logic, and you lose connection. Too much emotion, and you lose clarity. The balance between the two is where wisdom lives. Before making a decision, pause and ask, what does my heart feel? What does my logic see? And then, where do they align when both agree? You've found truth. That alignment creates peace, the kind that no data point alone can provide. Step 7. Empathy, the highest form of intelligence. Empathy is not softness, it's strategy. It allows you to understand motivation, predict behavior, and build influence that lasts. Empathy means listening to understand, not to respond. When you truly listen, you hear beyond the words, the fear beneath anger, the longing beneath criticism, the fatigue behind indifference. And that understanding gives you leverage not to control, but to connect, because people move toward those who make them feel safe. The leader who masters empathy never needs to raise their voice. Their calm becomes command. Step 8. Building emotional boundaries. Emotional intelligence doesn't mean absorbing everything. It means knowing what's yours and what isn't. You can be compassionate without being consumed. You can care deeply without carrying the weight. Set emotional boundaries not from coldness, but from clarity. Say to yourself, I can understand their pain, but I don't have to hold it. This keeps your energy clean and your thinking sharp. Boundaries protect your peace, and peace protects your power. Step 9. Emotional mastery in action. In conflict, listen first. In tension, breathe before reacting. In leadership, choose calm over control. In love, express truth without demand. Every situation that triggers emotion is an opportunity to practice mastery. Because emotional control is not about winning arguments, it's about maintaining awareness when everyone else is losing theirs. That's the real power. Not louder, just wiser. Reflection, logic can win the moment. But only emotional intelligence wins the long game. It builds trust, influence, and peace quietly, invisibly, powerfully. When your emotions become your allies, you no longer fear their arrival. You welcome them. You learn from them. Because a calm heart sees more clearly than a busy mind. And when logic and emotion walk together, you don't just think smarter, you live wiser. The world changes faster than ever. Technology evolves. Beliefs shift. Rules rewrite themselves. And yet, many minds stay the same. They hold on to what used to work. Defend what feels familiar. And resist what feels uncertain. But the truth is, intelligence isn't just what you know. It's how well you adapt. Adaptable intelligence is the art of staying flexible, curious, and calm, no matter how quickly the world moves. Step 1. The death of fixed thinking. Most people mistake knowledge for wisdom. They think intelligence means having the right answers, but in a world that changes every month, answers expire fast. It's not the person who knows the most who survives. It's the one who learns the fastest. The greatest threat to intelligence is not ignorance. It's rigidity. When your mind says, this is how it's always been, you stop evolving. Adaptability begins the moment you admit that what worked before might not work now. That humility, that openness, is the seed of all growth. Step 2. Shift from knowing to learning. The fixed mind asks, do I already know this? The adaptable mind asks, what can this teach me now? Every experience, even failure, becomes a classroom. You start learning from tension, from feedback, from change itself. Learning doesn't end when school does. It's a lifelong conversation between your curiosity and the world. When you stop trying to be right, you start becoming wise. Because wisdom doesn't mean certainty, it means continuous clarity. Step 3. The power of curiosity. Curiosity is the oxygen of intelligence. Without it, the mind suffocates. A curious person never gets stuck, because they're always exploring. They don't panic when the world changes, they lean in. They ask, what's emerging here? What can I experiment with? What's the hidden opportunity inside this? Curiosity keeps the mind young. It turns fear into fascination. It transforms confusion into insight. So whenever you feel resistance, replace judgment with curiosity. Ask questions instead of defending answers. That's how you stay fluid in a rigid world. Step 4. The art of unlearning. To learn something new, you often need to unlearn something old. That's hard because ego attaches itself to knowledge. But holding on to outdated truths is like using an old map to navigate a new city. The streets have changed, and so must you. Ask yourself, what beliefs no longer serve me? What habits once helped me, but now hold me back? What am I afraid to update? Letting go doesn't mean you were wrong. It means you've evolved. Unlearning is not forgetting. It's freeing. It clears mental space for the future to fit in. Step 5. Emotional flexibility. Adaptability isn't just mental, it's emotional. When change comes, your first response is rarely logical. It's emotional. You feel fear, loss, resistance. You cling to control. But emotional flexibility means you allow discomfort to exist without letting it paralyze you. You breathe through the uncertainty. You remind yourself, I can learn this. I can adjust. Every time you stay calm in the unknown, you train resilience. You teach your brain that change is survivable and even beneficial. That's how emotional adaptability turns chaos into confidence. Step 6. Think in scenarios. Not certainties. Rigid thinkers crave prediction. Adaptive thinkers embrace preparation. They don't say, this will happen. They say, if this happens, I'll do this. If not, I'll adjust. That scenario thinking a mindset of readiness, not fear. It makes you agile. It keeps you grounded when the future surprises everyone else. Try this exercise when facing a big decision. Imagine 3 possible outcomes: the best, the worst, and the most likely. Then plan how you'd respond to each. You'll feel calmer instantly, because clarity replaces panic when you already have a path forward. Step 7. The growth loop. Adaptable intelligence thrives on feedback. Every mistake becomes data. Every challenge becomes refinement. You stop asking, did I fail? And start asking, what did I learn? That's the growth loop. Observe, adjust, apply. It's how evolution works. In nature and in thought. The faster you close that loop, the faster you grow. Rigid minds wait for perfection. Adaptive minds build progress in motion. Step 8. Keep a beginner's mind. In Zen philosophy, there's a term called shoshin, the beginner's mind. It means approaching everything as if for the first time, open, curious, free of ego. The beginner's mind is fearless because it has nothing to prove. It listens more than it speaks. It experiments instead of assuming. That's the secret of lifelong intelligence, not mastery, but humility. Stay open long enough, and the world will teach you everything. Step 9. Adaptability in relationships and leadership. Adaptability isn't just about survival, it's about connection. The adaptable leader listens before reacting. They adjust their tone to the room, their words to the moment. They understand that people change. 2. And flexibility is how relationships last. When you let others evolve without clinging to who they used to be, you give them space to grow, and they give you loyalty in return. In leadership, adaptability builds trust. Because people don't follow perfection, they follow presence. Step 10. The calm core. Adaptable intelligence doesn't mean changing your values, it means anchoring them deeper. Like a tree with flexible branches and a steady root, you bend with the wind without breaking. Your calm becomes your compass. No matter what changes outside, you stay centered inside. When the world moves too fast, slow down. When everything feels uncertain, return to what's true. Flexibility without purpose is chaos. But flexibility with wisdom, that's evolution. Reflection. The smartest minds are not the ones who resist change. They're the ones who dance with it. They listen when life whispers, adjust when it shifts, and stay humble when they succeed. Because the moment you think you've mastered life, life changes the rules. Adaptability isn't weakness. It's intelligence in motion. It's the courage to keep learning, to keep growing, and to stay awake in a world that never stops moving. Stay open. Stay curious. Stay calm. That's how you stay smart, no matter how fast the world turns. You've reached the end of this journey, but in truth, this is only the beginning. Every idea you've heard, every reflection you've made, was never about adding more to your mind. It was about clearing what never belonged there. Because the real goal of intelligence is not to think harder, but to see clearer. You've learned how to slow your thoughts, question assumptions, read emotions, and stay calm in chaos. You've seen how the mind can be both your storm and your shelter. And you've remembered that wisdom isn't loud. It's quiet. It's patient. It's alive inside you right now. Knowledge tells you what to think. Wisdom teaches you how to see. Every time you pause before reacting, you grow wiser. Every time you choose curiosity over fear, you grow stronger. Every time you stay calm when others rush, you lead silently. That's what it means to master your mind, not to dominate it, but to dance with it. Your greatest power is not speed. It's stillness. Not control, but clarity. And clarity is freedom. If this audiobook brought you peace, or sparked a new way of thinking, don't stop here. Your journey of inner growth is just unfolding. Explore more audiobooks that awaken the calm thinker inside you. Subscribe to Sleep Success Audiobook for more stories, more wisdom, and more quiet awakenings to end your day with peace and begin your next one with clarity. And if this message touched you, share it, because someone out there is still lost in the noise and your small act could bring them silence. Take one deep breath. Let it fill you with calm. And as you exhale, let go of the rush, the worry, the noise. You are not behind. You are exactly where you need to be. Because the mind you train today builds the peace you'll live tomorrow. So keep learning, keep listening, keep growing, and remember, the calmest mind is the sharpest weapon. This is your power. Use it wisely.